Secondary stats. They're changing. You've probably heard from guildies, and people have probably spoken to you about it. And they've probably been chatting to you, and they've been going on and on about how it's going to make secondary stats worthless, this, that, and the next thing. And you've been pretty much sitting there like, yeah, I totally understand. Yeah, yeah, that is a big change. Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. No, I get it. I get it. When really what's actually going on in your head is, I have no idea what he's talking about. What's he? No, still don't get it. Does it matter? I mean, I guess I could probably just still sim it. Yeah, I'll be alright. Okay, so let me explain what's actually happening. The way your secondary stats are calculated is actually changing in Shadowlands. The reason is pretty straightforward. It stops classes scaling to ridiculous levels as the expansion goes on. We've all seen it. People end up with like 250% haste and everything's going a bit crazy, right? We've seen it. It happens. It's actually quite good fun. But this is going to stop that. First of all, how did it work in BFA? Okay, there is some math involved here, but bear with me because it's important, and we've especially got a couple of things that you're definitely going to need towards the end, so stick with me, okay? It's currently linear, which basically means, let's say, for example, every 10 points of haste you get counts as 1% for easier maths. So for every 10 that you have, you get 1%. So currently, if you get 100 haste points throughout your gear, you'll get 10%. If you get 1,000 haste points, you get 100%. Simple, right? Okay, Shadowlands. They're introducing a diminishing return system. So that basically means is, as you're gaining more and more, there are going to be cutoff points. And those cutoff points, you're going to incur penalties, which means the more stat you get, the less it's going to actually be worth. Okay? Here's how it works. Yeah, there is a little bit more maths. You have set points in which different penalties are applied. Let's still use our example for 10 stat points gives you 1%, okay? Easy. Say you get 290 points of haste. Currently in BFA, that would give you 29%, going by what we're using. That's still going to be the same in Shadowlands. You'll still get that 29%. However, if you then get another piece of gear and you now have 310 points, previously you would have got 31%. That's not the case now because as you can see there, there's a penalty. That penalty applies to any of the points that are over the percentage cutoff, which means you would get a slight deduction from instead of the 31% you got before, you get 30.9%, okay? Quite small, quite insignificant, but as you can see, it scales up the more and more you get. There'll be a bigger and bigger gap based on what you got before. Okay, your head's probably mashed enough, so if you need a break, hit subscribe, like, drop a comment that your head's mashed, and I'll wait a second. Yep, ready? Cool. All right, math's done. A couple of important points about this. Why do you care? Those classes that are used to just stacking one specific stat and forgetting about the rest, you're not really going to be able to do that anymore. You are going to have to look around and actually think about what your percentage is, where you're at, because now you may have a stat that you would consider weaker. However, if you're approaching a breakpoint or a penalty zone, you may think, actually, I'm going to put some more into crit or mastery or whatever, because that's not hit a penalty zone, or it's going to be less impactful, and you actually might gain DPS or healing out of that. And it's something that's certainly going to be valid the further we get into the expansion. Two things to remember. There's now actually a cap on the percentage you can have. This cap currently sits at 126%. So before, if you were gaining more and more gear and you had 200% for whatever reason, that's not going to be the case anymore. So any points that you get that take you above that 126%, they're ignored and they're essentially worthless and they're doing absolutely nothing for you. 2. This cap only applies to things that give you rating points. So for example, this trinket. This trinket gives an on-use effect that gives you a certain number of haste points. If those haste points take your percentage above the 126% or above a break point, you are going to get less benefit from this. What's not affected is anything that gives you a flat percentage of a certain stat. So things like bloodlust and heroism, that won't matter. You'll still get the full effect of that. It won't be impacted by any sort of diminishing returns or penalties, and it also won't matter if it takes you above that 126% cap. Okay, that was a bit heavy. Hopefully that gives you a little understanding of how secondary stats are actually going to be worked out in Shadowlands, and from there you'll be able to make some better decisions. you'll still probably sim it anyway, but at least now when the tryhards in your guild are talking non-stop about things like that, at least you'll understand what they're talking about. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. If you've got any questions, do the same. Drop me a sub if you didn't when you were having a break, and I'll catch you guys later. Ciao.